A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a significant development in the ongoing conflict in Gaza, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has indicated a willingness to proceed with U.S. President Donald Trump's contentious proposal to transfer the Palestinian population out of Gaza. Netanyahu described this move as the only viable plan to enable a different future for the region, a statement that has sparked considerable debate and concern among various stakeholders. During discussions with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who has recently embarked on a Middle East tour, Netanyahu reiterated support for the military objectives in Gaza, emphasizing that Hamas must be eradicated. This endorsement raises further doubts about the fragile ceasefire currently in place, as negotiations for its second phase have yet to commence. Rubio's upcoming visits to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates are expected to encounter resistance from Arab leaders regarding Trump's proposal, which includes plans for the redevelopment of Gaza under U.S. ownership. Critics, including human rights organizations, argue that Netanyahu's assertion that immigration from Gaza should be voluntary is misleading, given the extensive destruction in the territory. Netanyahu's comments reflect a shared strategy with Trump regarding Gaza, with both leaders warning that the gates of hell would be open if Hamas fails to release hostages taken during the militant group's attack on southern Israel on October 7, 2023, which ignited the 16-month conflict. The first phase of the ceasefire is set to conclude in 2 weeks, and negotiations for the second phase, which would involve the release of hostages by Hamas in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, a lasting truce, and the withdrawal of Israeli forces, were expected to have started 2 weeks ago. Trump's special envoy for the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, has assured that Phase 2 is absolutely going to begin, citing productive discussions with Netanyahu and officials from Egypt and Qatar, who are acting as mediators. Witkoff mentioned that the hostages to be released include 19 Israeli soldiers, all of whom are believed to be alive. Netanyahu's office has announced that the Israeli Security Cabinet will convene to deliberate on the next steps regarding the second phase of the ceasefire. In a show of military solidarity, Israel's defense ministry confirmed the receipt of a shipment of 2,000-pound -84 Malawian Kwacha's munitions from the United States, a shipment that had been paused last year due to concerns over civilian casualties in Gaza. As the war marks its 500th day, Netanyahu has indicated a readiness to resume hostilities following the current ceasefire phase, a move that poses grave risks for the remaining hostages. Rubio stated that lasting peace is unattainable as long as Hamas remains a governing force in Gaza, asserting that it must be eradicated. Despite suffering significant losses, Hamas has reasserted its control over Gaza during the ceasefire. Netanyahu has offered Hamas the option to surrender and send its leaders into exile, a proposal that has been firmly rejected by the militant group, which insists on maintaining Palestinian governance. Hamas spokesman Abdul Latif Al-Qanu has stated that the group would support a Palestinian unity government or a technocratic committee to govern Gaza. In the meantime, Netanyahu has instructed negotiators to travel to Cairo to address the ongoing implementation of the ceasefire's first phase, as logistical issues regarding the delivery of shelter materials remain unresolved. On the ground, the Israeli military has conducted airstrikes targeting individuals approaching its forces in southern Gaza, while Hamas reported the deaths of 3 police officers during operations to facilitate the entry of aid trucks near the Rafah border with Egypt. Rubio's recent comments suggest that Trump's Gaza proposal may also be intended to pressure Arab nations to formulate their own post-war plans that align with Israeli interests. He has hinted at the possibility of Arab countries contributing troops to combat Hamas, stating, "If the Arab countries have a better plan, then that's great." However, he emphasized that Hamas has guns, indicating that regional forces must confront the militant group. Notably, Rubio's itinerary excludes meetings with Palestinian representatives during his trip, a decision that underscores the complexities of the current geopolitical landscape. For Arab leaders, the prospect of facilitating the mass expulsion of Palestinians from Gaza or engaging in military action against Palestinian militants poses significant political risks and could destabilize an already volatile region. Egypt is set to host an Arab summit on February 27th and is collaborating with other nations on a counter-proposal aimed at rebuilding Gaza without displacing its population. Human rights advocates have warned that the expulsion of Palestinians would likely contravene international law. Egypt has cautioned that a mass influx of Palestinians could jeopardize its long-standing peace treaty with Israel, a cornerstone of U.S. influence in the region. Both the UAE and Saudi Arabia have expressed opposition to any mass displacement of Palestinians, with the UAE having played a pivotal role in the 2020 Abraham Accords, which normalized relations between several Arab states and Israel. Trump aims to expand these accords to include Saudi Arabia, but the kingdom has made it clear that normalization is contingent upon establishing a pathway to a Palestinian state. Rubio's trip notably excludes Egypt and Jordan, both of whom are U.S. allies that have maintained peace with Israel but have rejected the acceptance of Palestinian refugees. Trump has suggested that he might reduce U.S. aid to these countries if they do not comply, a move that could have dire economic consequences. Additionally, Rubio is not scheduled to visit Qatar. Arab and Muslim nations have conditioned any support for post-war Gaza on a return to Palestinian governance and a clear pathway to statehood in Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem, territories seized by Israel during the 1967 Middle East War. However, Israel has categorically ruled out the establishment of a Palestinian state and any involvement of the Western-backed Palestinian Authority, which was ousted from Gaza by Hamas in 2007. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.